Hello and welcome to another Maxwell Mechanics YouTube channel video. This is episode number 5, and I just wanted to go over some of the things that it took to lower this truck in this video, and I think that would be pretty helpful to some of you guys out there. Personally, I didn't really know what I was doing. My brother told me a lot of how to lower the rear, but he hadn't lowered the front of a Ranger at the time, so the front was more of a learning experience. The back was too, but the back was a lot easier because you don't have to deal with steering and camber and all the other things that you get into with the front end. So the rear end was pretty simple. I just did a flip kit and I retained stock shackles. That's how I got the 7-inch drop in the rear. And up front, I've got DJM Dream beams with stock length coils and Rick's Rangers radius arm relocator brackets. Along with, I built a custom cross member for the radius arm brackets and a custom transmission cross member that both sit up higher than stock, tucked up under the frame. And yeah, so I just wanted to go over some of the parts that I got for the truck in order to lower it how I did, and some of the smaller details that I think you guys should definitely consider if you're going to be lowering a 93 to 97. So this should apply to 89 to 97, but there is small differences between the years. So if you don't have a 95 to 97, then this video might not be as helpful to you. But for those of you that do, then let me know if this is a good video. So I'll get out and I'll show you guys the front and rear end and what I've done and kind of what's required to lower the truck properly. So we'll go ahead and start up front because the front's more complicated, and then we'll move to the back. So basically, a lot of the things you're going to need, if you want to do it properly and not have a bunch of camber, you're going to want to get the DJM Dream Beams or some variation of Dream Beams, because you're going to need the relocated mounting location for your knuckles if you don't want to have camber. So if you look at the truck here, you can see it does have a little bit of camber, but I have not got this aligned. I have also not messed with the caster camber bushings yet. I just put this front end in April, so I'm still figuring out the quirks. There's a couple of noises and stuff that I'm still trying to figure out, and today actually I'm planning on flipping the sway bar underneath the steering. So I'll show you guys a bit of the front end, and you can see some of the new parts and some of the stuff that it took to lower the truck. I don't know if you can really see that or not. But basically, it's got the DJM Dream Beams are the main component of the lowering, and then along with the Rick's Rangers radius arm relocator mounts. Those tuck the radius arms and the mounts right up beside the frame, because stock they hang below the frame rails. And they have a big cross member that hangs low to the ground when you lower these trucks, because originally I had this truck on cut coil springs before I did the Dream Beams. And basically, a lot of the front end work was taking a long time because I was waiting on parts, and I couldn't find a set of Dream Beams because new these cost about $1,100 shipped to where I live, and I didn't want to pay that because it's, you know, a lot just for a set of axles, and ended up finding a used set. I looked on the Ontario Ranger group on Facebook, and that's how I ended up finding these Dream Beams. Now, they'd only been in the guy's truck for a few years, and the bushings in them were still good and everything. And I was able to make some of my money back by selling some of the extra front end parts that I got with the Dream Beams. So yeah, so the other things that I did to the front end, it has new radius arms, it has new radius arm bushings, it has new brakes in the front, it has new coil springs, new shocks, new sway bar end links, new sway bar bushings. It has all new steering components. It also has new ball joints, along with new rotors, new calipers, new brake pads, new flex lines. And the only thing I didn't really touch in the front was the very front cross member. That's kind of like the guard for the steering. Along with, I didn't touch the I-beam mounts, and I didn't touch the coil buckets. So those are some of the things I avoided on this. I could have done them and, you know, done a little bit more work and made it a little nicer. But I didn't really feel like going that deep into it, because for one thing, the coil buckets are kind of a pain to get on and off, considering you have to get at the bolts from behind the engine cross member in this truck. So getting it off, you know, that's one thing. You can just grind the rivets off and pop it off the frame. But when you got to reattach it and you got to bolt it back on, you got to make sure you can get to the where the nuts are going to be, unless you have like a welder and you tap it or something, but it's not really thick enough for that. But yeah, so that's a lot of what I did to the front end, and it took me about 7 months to from taking the old front end out to having it on the ground and driving. So if you have all the parts needed, it's not going to take you anywhere near that long. But for me, I was looking to try and get the parts, use some of them, like the axles themselves, and the knuckles on the truck are the original ones to this, as far as I know. They're the ones that were on it when I took it apart. And from what it looked like, it had never been changed. This truck, when I got it, was pretty much untouched. It had new front fenders put on it, and had a couple of small things that the previous guy who owned it did to it. But it was basically just stock. It was a base model. It had a couple options, like it had AC originally. It's got power steering, obviously power brakes, but it's pretty much just a stock. It was a stock base model truck when I got it, and that was about 4 years ago. So the front end is definitely more complicated to lower than the rear end. You need a lot more components, because obviously you have to keep in mind you have camber, caster, you have steering, you have the axles that are pivoting versus the rear end where the axle is always true, like up and down, because it's a solid axle in the rear. So that's basically what you'll need in the front. Also, I recommend getting a slightly smaller tire than stock, because when you lower this truck 3 inches, at least when I lowered mine, it ended up settling quite a bit. It didn't sit this low when I first got it done, but it's not tucking the tire, but it's pretty close to the fender now. This truck does have a slight rake to the front. It's just a little bit lower in the back, just because it's 7 inches in the rear with the flip kit and stock shackles, and it's only about 3 inches with the dream beams, because I used brand new stock length coil springs. So I also went with the heavy duty coil springs because I wanted them to last. And yeah, so you don't have to do that, you can just get the stock ones, but I just thought I'd do a little upgrade for the truck. And yeah, I guess now we'll move on to the rear end. So this one's gonna be a little harder to see, but I don't know how much you can see of that. It's probably easier if I just explain it. But yeah, so the rear end in this truck just has a flip kit, and then it has stock length shackles. So traditionally with the flip kit, you would order extended shackles, like lift shackles, because it would bring the axle back up. Therefore, you don't need to notch the truck or worry about, drive shaft clearance. But I wanted the truck lower than just 4 inches, 4 to 5 inches. So when you do the stock shackles, it lowers the truck an additional about 2 inches, I found. Because the flip kit is supposed to give you 4 to 5 inches of drop, depending on how your truck's set up in the rear. So I ended up going with the stock length shackles. I got new ones and new mounts because it needed them. And that's how the rear of the truck is lowered. And it actually rides pretty good in the back, and in the front it does have a couple noises, but I'm hoping to figure that out today. I got under there the one day, took the wheel off, and I found out that the sway bar end link rubs the coil spring at full droop of the suspension in the front. So I'm thinking that's definitely one of the noises I'm hearing. It's like a clunk, almost like a bang. So I'm thinking that's kind of why it was making the noise, and I'm hoping today when I flip the sway bar underneath the steering to get it away from the coil spring and away from the other suspension components, it should give me the clearance to where it shouldn't make those noises. But yeah, a bit of a shorter video today, guys. I just wanted to go over some of the stuff that it took to lower this truck. And if you want to know a bit more about some of the stuff I ran into when I tried to lower it, I also had to notch the cross member underneath the cab for the drive shaft. It's got about, it's got about a 4, maybe 5 inch notch in it. And me and my brother built that. It was made out of a big piece of tubing that I cut in half. It was like a half moon, and then I cut 2 pieces of plate and drilled 2 holes in each of them, and then I just bolted that into the cross member. I drilled my own holes, and then I cut out the middle of the cross member once I had those bolts tight. And then the gas tank strap is actually mounted with one of those bolts. I got my brother to weld in a bolt to the gas tank strap so you can just tighten the nut, kind of like how when it's a bolt with the clip you just tighten the bolt. So we had to do the notch on this truck, so keep that in mind if you lower them this much. Another thing is the drive shaft is kind of fully inserted into the trans. So what I'm planning to do, I'd like to put on air shocks in the rear and have a little compressor with a switch, 2 switches up and down in the truck. And that should solve the issue of the drive shaft being too far into the trans, because what'll happen when it's like that is when you hit a bump and the rear suspension travels, it is jamming the drive shaft into the trans. So you don't want that, because it'll end up wrecking the tail shaft of the trans or the output seal, and this one actually leaks the output seal. So I have to do that next time I take the drive shaft out. But yeah, so that's pretty much all I wanted to go over, just some of the basic things you're going to need if you want to lower a 96. This should apply to 93 to 97, but they changed a lot of things in 95. The suspension is the same as far as I know. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully the next video we post will be the 4-liter swap on that truck over there. So stay tuned for some more videos, and I'll see you guys next time.